But if your family is perfect, if it works and all the chords fit, you have nothing to push against, and you'll never grow. You'll never advance. You'll never surpass your parents or whatever. Which I guess is every parent. I don't know. But
No, I thank you, Cloris. I was thinking the same thing. It's like,
No, I was seeing the same thing.
she was. But, you've been in air for 6 years. You did the show for more than 5 years, Primetime More show. The characters change. They grow. They get more information. They become different people. They get crotchetier. They get funnier, whatever it is. But I also think about the fact that the information, when we watch a show, we come into a certain particular point in their lives. We are only seeing this much of the existence. And the show can expand forwards and backwards by how many years and how much more information are we going to get. It's a weird thing to assume that anybody knows these characters consistently, that these characters are only defined by that episode, that half hour. If you come into my life when I'm 25, you have no idea who I am when I'm 40-something. You know what I mean? You have no idea. And I was just thinking about the fact that what I love about True Blood is that we have this world where we get to make up these massive histories. And sometimes we actually dip back into those histories and we show precursors. So Alex Sarsgaard's father is killed by me. And we actually show that scene, and it informs 1,000 years of his motivation, which makes for a great arc.
I just want to say I was on a television show that people never changed. Married with Children stayed the same from day one till the end. That's what I would say.
I mean, not to be hokey, but one of the families that is really big in our show is the family of the show. The actual ensemble is a family. The crew is a family. It's hokey, but true, Phyllis. Because these are the people you work with every day, and you begin to form relationships. So when Theo, the guy who played my lover Talbot of 700 Years, died, he wasn't gay. He was gay in the show, but he wasn't gay in real life.
Yes, he was.
I'm gay both ways. I'm gay everywhere, all the time, for years, and bald. Gay and bald. Me and Patrick Stewart. No. Sorry. But when Theo, my guy who played my boyfriend, died, we knew that was his last episode. So coming up to that episode, like for weeks, there was this pall over the whole set. And
God, I have to sit next to him.
yes, you're a little lucky. So when he finally died in the episode, it was like we lost that cast member. That cast member was gone from the family. And it truly made the thing kind of depressive. At one point I sat backstage, it was Stephen Moyer and I. We had killed off Lorena. We had killed off Grant Bowler, who played Cooter. We had killed off Theo. And there were all these empty chairs. And it was just this weird sort of like empty, but you're backstage and there's none of your friends, your pals are all dead. None of them were bald nor gay.
None of them was bald.
And they didn't interrupt.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but it's correct to say none of them was.
Do you know the joke about the interrupting cow?
No, tell me. I'm sorry for interrupting everybody.
that's okay.
Well,
We have our own little alternate family right here on the stage. I forgot what the question was.
I think that, to answer your question, the best thing for me about being an actor is it gives me the opportunity to quite literally be in somebody else's shoes. And I'm a Yank, from way back. I'm raised in Michigan. But my character was a Southerner, at least in one aspect. And so I had to sort of embrace the Southern aspect, something that I had been ignorant of most of my life and had an opinion about. So I spent some time in Jackson, Mississippi, and New Orleans, and suddenly people like Haley Barbour, who I would not ordinarily listen to speak, I found fascinating. I wanted to hear Haley Barbour all the time. And I found myself being drawn to people for their accent or just for who they were, because I wanted to study them. And in that way, it made me more open-minded in a strange way. It opened my horizons, and that to me is a great gift of acting. But it's like in many times. I mean, people always say, "What's it like to play a villain?" And I say, I'm not playing a villain. I've never played a villain in my life. What I've played is somebody who has a passionate point of view that they are enacting. In my show, Russell Edgington is the savior of the earth. Quite literally, he wants to set the earth on a good course, and part of that means that he needs to be in control. because the way that humanity is doing it is not working. They're destroying it. And he's a pagan character who's been alive for almost 3,000 years and has a scope of history beyond anybody else's. That's not a villain in my book.
He knows best.
In a strange way, at least he has a point of view that's incredibly strong. But I did a movie once called Milk, where I played Senator John Briggs, who was a senator who was trying to basically introduce a law to fire anyone who was a gay teacher. And my politics don't have anything to do with that job. I went and found footage of him. I investigated him. I met one of his nephews. What makes this man do what he did? And what he made him do, he was passionate about his political point of view. He felt that kids were in danger. And he was motivated from love of children. I mean, correct love of children. I mean,
Really?
but
What was the footage you found?
To be a worthy adversary for other characters is the highest honor you can pay to a character. You want characters to butt up against each other in a really compelling way. You have to be an honest adversary. You can't be dishonest. It doesn't work.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask Dennis, did you base Russell on any particular person? Did you think of anyone when you're playing him? How did you get to Russell, I guess?
When I got the job, Alan Ball said to me, I want you to play this character. He is the oldest vampire, and he is charming and deadly. And that's kind of where we started from. And then, as you get the scripts, you get clues. Suddenly, you get a line that is an indication of who the person is. You get humor, actually, I find, is the big touchstone. Whenever a character jokes, you get a real sense of who they are. You get a sense of how they think. And there was some great humor early on where I kind of got who the guy was. I do a lot of research when I do parts, and this was a treasure trove for me, so I spent a lot of time mucking about in Charlemagne's kingdom, and then they kept making him older, and then I kind of mucked around in the 5th century, and then suddenly I realized he was at least 3,000 years old, so I went way back to basically, pre-Buddha. But, so he's based on, I have a private source, which I cannot name, but there is I cannot name, it's like for secrets, you have secrets, and you'll tell people like that.
I have at least 2 secrets that nobody can get out of me, ever. So tell me first, and I'll tell you.
Quite honestly, I think it has to do with the writing and the quality of writing. And I know, Peter, you must be aware of this from 60 Under and other shows you've done. When you have great writing, the many, many ways you can play a scene just explode in your mind. You look at a scene and you go, my God, this could go any way. And the brilliance of great writing is that when you play the scene, it does go every way. I've always, that's the way I act, is that it's always whatever, it's different. And I did one thing with Stephen Moyer, we literally acted it 7 or 8 different ways to the point where they couldn't cut it together because the takes were so incredibly different. Nothing matched at all. But it was a playground for us because it was just, our writing was so good. They didn't show it. But no, the writing is so rich that you can explore it in many, many, many different ways. And the exploration to me is what's exciting, whether it's big or small. It's just the fact that you have so much to play. Sometimes you can't even approach it as an actor. You kind of think, how do I even say the first word, given how much I'm trying to do in the scene?